Welcome to ParaMeet 2022. I'm here with Neil Storey, and you've already done your talk today.
Not yet. Not yet.
No, of course you haven't. No. What's your subject today? What are you talking about?
5 o'clock today, I've been asked to speak on a subject very dear to my heart. It's the subject of my soon-to-be published biography of Bram Stoker.
Okay, yeah.
And we shall be particularly focusing on the origins of Dracula and how Bram Stoker set about creating the character, why he created Dracula, and his many inspirations.
And I guess the why he created Dracula is quite important to you, because you're very much a storyteller. Do you think storytelling is a big part of the paranormal?
Oh, it really is. Bram's ancestry, although his ancient ancestry is in Northumberland, in England, they were generations in Ireland, and his mother's family. Oh my goodness, they were old tradition, old Irish family, and of course the storytelling tradition, the legacy. Bram couldn't walk until he was 7 years old, and so year after year, and not just his family but the servants, people like Ellen Crone, the beloved family nurse, they would tell tales from his bedside. So there'd be all sorts of stories. We can only really guess at some of the stories, but you can get an idea from the themes of Irish folk tales and legends of the sort of fare that Bram would have been brought up on.
Yeah, and those stories as well, ghost stories live on through our culture and society, don't they? I personally think they're a very important part of our identity as British people.
You are absolutely right. My life as a historian, and in fact my life, I was raised in a rich storytelling tradition in the county of Norfolk, and I knew people from an age that was fading fast, an age of horse-drawn transport. My grandfather was born in 1909. He saw the First World War, he served in the Second World War. He was far from unique. His friends, my extended family, our neighbours, they were all people from that generation. A lot of them, because I spent an awful lot of time with my grandparents when I was growing up, their friends loved to tell stories, and it was that rich tradition that it does worry me that as time moves on, that tradition isn't always being passed on from generation to generation today. So I hope it won't be lost.
Do you think that storytelling's being done through different mediums though now?
Absolutely right. I think there are some incredible stories to be told in a host of different modern platforms. But for me, you will never beat. And I think it's been highlighted during lockdown. Yes, we can communicate via Zoom conversations, we can lecture over the internet, but to sit down together and to have that atmosphere of storytelling and audience reaction, then that's something very special.
I mean, some of my strongest childhood memories are my parents reading to me Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and those kind of things, and I think a story should be told in that manner, preferably around by a fireside.
Absolutely right. Or when you're a kid, you're safe, you're warm in bed, or you're snuggled up on the sofa next to very well loved grandparents, you know. It's something so special, so dear to our heart. I think children should have that closeness. All of the modern platforms, of course, tell stories via those platforms, but they don't have the heart of a family storytelling session or group coming together, complete strangers, to hear a tale told in a pub, in a theatre, or an event like this.
Of course, rooted in every single one of those ghost stories, there's history and there's a real genuine story behind it. Do you think that factual history element is important to the paranormal world?
Do you know, I think in my book, in my own estimation, I think it's essential. It's what most people would call a grain of truth. And that's what makes a good ghost story, a paranormal event, if there's that grain of truth, something that people can hang a hook on, can relate to, that's what really hits the mark. It's what brings it alive to them, something they can share and invest in. And not to mention, although I don't like to terrify people or cause nightmares, there's a certain magic of making an audience jump.
I'm sure there is, yeah. And Bosworth Hall is a very fitting place for this event as well. Are you familiar with the ghost stories of Bosworth? Have you investigated here, or?
My good friend Penny Griffiths Morgan has investigated the history and ghost stories here. So I don't know all of those tales. What I do know is that in an investigation with the wonderful Patti Negri, psychic medium from America, she came in cold to this location, and we were working with quite a team of guests, and I was the historian, and it was for what came through. We came with no prior knowledge, so nothing could affect the investigation. And I often find that paranormal voices are often male. That's in my experience. Others may have different, and I respect that, but I often feel that women of the past generations lived in a time before equality as we hope to know today. And sometimes you do have to encourage the spirits or paranormal presence of women that are, whatever the trace may be, to come forward. It's okay to speak to us. You will not get in trouble for speaking to us. And here at Bosworth Hall, there was a nurse who was looking after soldiers during the First World War. She spoke to us. We had EVP. It was absolutely magical. We managed to... She was concerned that she was speaking to us when she should be looking after the soldiers that she was caring for.
Yeah.
And there, we even found on a mobile phone some First World War music played on gramophone records. We played that. The room, it was timeless. It was really reaching her, reaching us. There were words, there were questions, there were some answers, but it was that wonderful atmosphere when you feel that presence that touched us all right here, thanks to the incredible mediumship of our Patti.
Oh, great. And when's the book due out?
Bram Stoker should be out early on next year.
Okay.
And it's Bram Stoker, an illustrated biography published by Pen and Sword Books.
Lovely, we will look out for that.
There'll be lots of new things in there too that people might not know. Nothing earth-shattering, but there's some wonderful stories, some little features, and some more about how Bram Stoker created Dracula and other characters in his books. And I've got quite a nice photographic tour of Whitby as Bram would have known it. So not visiting today, but in old photographs I've collected over the years.
Oh, lovely. Sounds good. Great, we will look out for that. Thank you very much for your time today, Neil.
Thank you so much. Good to meet you.
Yeah, you too.